During appetizers, Marina and Rodrigo fed each other with airplane noises that escalated in volume and complexity until, by the main course, Marina was providing full helicopter sound effects while Rodrigo offered air traffic control commentary. Incoming meatball approaching from the northwest, Marina announced, steering a fork toward Rodrigo's mouth. Roger that, ground control. Mouth runway clear for landing, Rodrigo replied, opening wide while his shoes blinked like runway lights. Carmen watched in horror while Yeppy slowly slid lower in his chair, apparently hoping to disappear under the table. So, Rodrigo, Carmen tried desperately, how is your engineering career going? Oh, he quit, Marina announced proudly before Rodrigo could answer. He's becoming a professional interpretive dancer. Show them your routine about capitalism, honey bunny. Rodrigo immediately leapt onto his chair and began a performance that could only be described as part seizure, part disco. His light-up shoes turned the dining room into Studio 54 as he flailed dramatically. Behold the oppression of the working class, represented by this aggressive elbow movement. And here, he spun wildly, we see the bourgeoisie twirling endlessly in their corruption, like a washing machine of greed. Several dishes rattled dangerously. Yeppy grabbed the salt shaker before it could topple. That's very artistic, dear, Carmen said faintly. Artistic. Marina squealed, leaping up to join him. It's revolutionary. Now watch my interpretive dance about how the patriarchy is like a really mean seagull. What followed was a duet so aggressively bizarre that even the houseplants seemed to lean away in horror. Marina flapped around the dining room shrieking seagull noises while Rodrigo continued his capitalist spin cycle routine. His shoes pulsed like a Vegas light show. Carmen and Giuseppe sat frozen, watching their carefully orchestrated romantic dinner devolve into avant-garde nightmare fuel. Should we call someone? Yeppy whispered. Who do you call for this? Carmen whispered back. The police? A priest? An exorcist. But the true chaos began when the doorbell rang. Oh. Carmen jumped up with suspicious enthusiasm. That must be the surprise guests. Mid-dance, Marina froze with her arms outstretched like wings, while Rodrigo balanced precariously on one leg. Surprise guests, they said in unison. Carmen opened the door to reveal not one, not two, but 6 new arrivals. Both sets of parents, plus Rodrigo's sister Elena and Marina's brother Carlos. Surprise! They chorused, except the parents who just stood there, staring at their children's outfits with visible horror. Marina, her mother Sylvia said slowly. Why are you dressed like, what are you dressed like? And Rodrigo, his father Victor added, aghast. Why are your shoes flashing SOS? It's Morse code for I love Marina so much I can't control my footwear, Rodrigo declared proudly, making the shoes flash even harder. Elena burst into laughter so violent she had to lean against the wall. Oh my God, what have you done to yourself? Carlos whipped out his phone, filming gleefully. This is going straight to YouTube. Title: My Sister's Breakdown, a visual documentary. It's not a breakdown, it's true love. Marina shrieked, grabbing Rodrigo's hand and slamming her karaoke machine to life. Instantly, the opening notes of My Heart Will Go On blasted at a volume that rattled the silverware. Rodrigo joined in by stomping his shoes to the beat, producing a flashing, squeaking light show. The noise, the lights, the shrieking, it was less romantic dinner, and more apocalypse rave. The neighbor's dog howled in harmony. The dining table began to vibrate. Giuseppe's wine glass wobbled, then slowly walked itself across the table as though trying to escape. Above them, Carmen's antique crystal chandelier began to sway ominously. Maybe we should turn down the volume. Victor shouted. What? Marina screamed back mid Celine Dion. The chandelier. Elena pointed upward. Everyone looked up just in time to see the chandelier swing free from the ceiling like it was staging its own dramatic exit. Everybody down. Yeppy barked with surprising military command. The entire family dove under the table as the chandelier came crashing down with the force of a crystal meteor. It exploded into glittering shards exactly where Marina and Rodrigo had been dancing seconds earlier. Silence fell, except for the karaoke machine which, still at full blast, cycled into its chorus. Near, far, wherever you are. From under the table, Marina's muffled voice piped up. Did we just almost die because of my singing? I think, Rodrigo said, shoes still flickering weakly, we might have literally brought the house down. Is everyone okay? Carmen called shakily. One by one, family members crawled out, surveying the wreckage. The chandelier lay shattered across the floor, sparkling like dangerous snow. The karaoke machine wailed on in triumph. Elena broke the silence first. Well, she said, brushing glass from her hair, that escalated. Brushing crystal shards off her dress, Elena snorted. This is definitely going to be one of those family stories we tell forever. Carlos, still filming, added, the time Marina and Rodrigo destroyed Grandma's chandelier with the power of terrible performance art. Carmen looked from the wreckage to her granddaughter's guilty face, then to Yeppy's horrified expression, and suddenly burst into laughter. Not polite grandmotherly chuckles, full body, can't breathe, tears streaming down her face laughter. Carmen? Yeppy asked nervously. Are you having some kind of breakdown? Carmen gasped between wheezes. I just realized we've been sabotaged. Everyone froze. What do you mean? Marina asked, plucking sequins out of her hair. You too. Carmen pointed at Marina and Rodrigo. You've been deliberately trying to be as annoying as possible so we'd regret arranging this, haven't you? Marina and Rodrigo looked at each other, surrounded by chandelier debris, their elaborate performances suddenly absurd. Maybe, Marina said weakly. Possibly, Rodrigo admitted, his shoes giving one final, pitiful flash. Yeppy started laughing too. Those outfits, the dancing, the karaoke machine. You've been putting on a show this whole time. But the joke's on you, Carmen said, wiping her eyes. Because while you were trying so hard to repel each other, you've become the most entertaining, and possibly compatible, couple we've ever seen. Entertaining? Marina squeaked. You spent 20 minutes feeding each other meatballs with airplane noises, Sylvia pointed out. Do you know how much coordination that requires? And that interpretive dance, Victor added. It was terrible, but you were equally terrible. In perfect harmony. Also, Elena said with a grin, you've been holding hands for the past 10 minutes without even noticing. Marina and Rodrigo glanced down. Sure enough, their hands were clasped tightly like they belonged that way. That's, Marina began. Coincidence, Rodrigo finished. But neither of them let go. Is it though? Carlos asked, zooming in with his camera. Because you two have been unconsciously mirroring each other all night. When Marina leaned left, you leaned left. When Rodrigo scratched his nose, you scratched yours. It's like watching synchronized sabotage. That's ridiculous, Marina protested. Completely absurd, Rodrigo agreed. Prove it, Elena challenged. Let go of each other. Right now. They looked at their hands. Then at each other. Then back at their hands. 30 long seconds ticked by. This is harder than it should be, Marina admitted. Significantly harder, Rodrigo agreed. Oh, for the love of, Yeppy exploded, then caught himself. Sorry? But you two are the most stubborn people I've ever met. And you're clearly crazy about each other. We are not, they protested in perfect unison, which completely destroyed their credibility. Carmen surveyed the crystal-littered dining room, the stunned family and her granddaughter and Yeppy's grandson, still holding hands while vehemently denying any attraction. You know what, she said finally. I'm calling this dinner a success. Success, everyone echoed. The chandelier is destroyed, Yeppy pointed out. The karaoke machine is stuck, Carlos added. I have sequins in places sequins should never be, Elena groaned. But, Carmen said, her grin bright enough to light the entire neighborhood, Marina and Rodrigo haven't stopped touching each other for the past hour. Even while claiming they can't stand each other. Marina and Rodrigo immediately dropped hands. Then immediately reached for each other again. Then forced themselves apart, looking awkward and incomplete. See? Carmen said triumphantly. That proves nothing, Marina snapped. Absolutely nothing, Rodrigo echoed. Then after a beat he added, although, would it be totally weird if we hung out tomorrow? You know, to plan better sabotage strategies. That would be, Marina paused, considering, probably necessary. For proper sabotage coordination. Definitely necessary. For sabotage purposes only. Obviously. Elena doubled over laughing again. Oh my God, you two are hopeless. Carmen and Yeppy exchanged victorious glances over the chandelier wreckage. Mission accomplished, Yeppy whispered. Mission spectacularly accomplished, Carmen whispered back. As the family began sweeping up crystal shards and silencing the still wheezing karaoke machine, My Heart Will Go On fading into blessed death, Marina and Rodrigo found themselves working side by side, automatically handing each other tools, moving in perfect sync without realizing it. So, Marina said carefully, not looking at him while she swept. Same time tomorrow? For sabotage planning purposes only, Rodrigo confirmed, also not looking at her, but handing her the dustpan at the exact right moment. Obviously. Pure sabotage. Across the room, Carmen caught Yeppy's eye and mouthed, "Best matchmakers ever." Yeppy mouthed back, "We should probably buy a new chandelier." "Worth it," Carmen mouthed, watching her granddaughter and his grandson continue their ridiculous dance of denial while cleaning up the evidence of their perfect disaster. Because sometimes the best way to make two people fall in love is to give them a common enemy, even if that enemy is their own stubborn hearts. And sometimes the most romantic gesture isn't flowers or chocolates. Sometimes it's bringing down a chandelier together and still not letting go of each other's hands. The spell shattered when Giuseppe Topo Rodrigo leaned in. "I'm listening. What if we give them exactly what they want?" So intensely they realize they've made a catastrophic mistake. Marina's face lit up with real excitement for the first time that day. "You mean, be the most annoying couple in the history of romance?" "Precisely. So unbearable, so nauseatingly perfect together, they'll beg us to break up." Marina clapped her hands. "That's brilliant. Evil but brilliant. Should we start now?" Without hesitation, she flung her arms around Rodrigo's neck and practically shouted, "Rodrigo, my soulmate. Yes, I'll marry you and bear your philosophical children." Every head in the cafe swiveled. Not to be outdone, Rodrigo swept her into a dramatic dip, squeaky shoes shrieking their protest. "Marina, my astrological goddess. Together we shall transcend the material plane through the sacred power of celery juice and existential dread." From the corner booth came the sound of two elderly people choking violently on their spy coffees. Marina giggled, a sound so loud it probably violated municipal codes. "Oh, Rodrigo, let's get matching tattoos of niche quotes in Sanskrit. And we'll name our children after philosophers and Kardashians," Rodrigo added, his shoes squeaking like a victory fanfare. "Plato Kardashian Petrov. Aristotle Kim Rodriguez Petrov. Socrates Chloe." The cafe descended into open horror. Several patrons were filming. One woman appeared to be dialing a crisis hotline. In their so-called spy booth, Carmen and Giuseppe whispered furiously. "This is happening too fast," Carmen hissed, her sideways wig sliding dangerously toward her nose. "Way too fast," Giuseppe agreed, glaring at his coffee, where the mustache floated like a tragic shipwreck. "Young people have no sense of proper courtship timing. Should we intervene?" "Oh. We're supposed to be secret agents of love. Your mustache is drowning. Your wig is covering your eye. This spy work is harder than it looks." Back at the main table, Marina still clung to Rodrigo's neck like a deranged koala. "So," she said sweetly, "what's phase 2 of Operation Horrify Our Grandparents?" "Dinner tomorrow. At your grandmother's house. We'll be so syrupy sweet they'll develop diabetes just from looking at us." "Perfect." Marina paused, suddenly aware she was basically perched in Rodrigo's lap. This is getting a little intimate for fake romance. Rodrigo glanced down at his arms, firmly wrapped around her waist. "Right. Yes. Method acting. Very method. Super method," Marina agreed. Neither moved. "Your unicorn sweater is playing music again. Your fedora is actually kind of stylish." They stared at each other. The first real silence since meeting. "Are we having a moment?" Marina whispered. "I think we might be," Rodrigo admitted. "That's problematic for our sabotage mission. Extremely problematic. Should we stop having a moment?" "Probably." They continued having the moment anyway. Ed his chair trying to get a better camera angle, while Carmen's wig finally migrated fully sideways, transforming her into a lopsided poodle. Marina cleared her throat and pulled back into her own chair. "Right. Focus. Mission. Make them regret this matchmaking scheme." "Absolutely," Rodrigo said, adjusting his fedora so hard it squeaked in protest. "Tomorrow night, we unleash the most insufferable couple performance in human history. Legendary. Epically annoying. We'll be heroes to future grandchildren everywhere." They shook hands solemnly, sealing the pact of romantic terrorism. Neither mentioned how soft Marina's hand felt, nor how Rodrigo's unforced smile was dangerously contagious. And neither admitted they were both secretly looking forward to tomorrow far more than they should. From the spy booth, Carmen squinted at her slipping wig while Giuseppe wrung out his mustache like a wet rag. "Mission accomplished?" Giuseppe asked hopefully. "Mission complicated," Carmen corrected, readjusting. "But potentially successful. They're either going to fall madly in love or destroy each other." "With those two?" Giuseppe sighed. "Probably both." Meanwhile, Marina and Rodrigo walked out of Café Delirium in perfect sync, still bickering about whether Descartes would have approved of chakra cleansing. Neither noticed they'd been laughing together non-stop for the last 5 minutes. The sabotage mission had already veered into dangerous territory. 24 hours later. Marina stood before her mirror in what could only be described as a war crime against fashion. A hot pink sequin dress that looked like a disco ball had exploded, lime green stilettos, and so much glitter she could probably blind incoming aircraft. She'd also perfected her most excruciating laugh, a sound that could shatter windows in 3 countries. Across town, Rodrigo was donning his own masterpiece of horror, a tuxedo t-shirt, a blinding yellow bow tie, and shoes that not only squeaked but now lit up with each step. He'd practiced his most pretentious voice and memorized 17 fake philosophy quotes that made no sense whatsoever. Both came armed with props. Marina carried a karaoke machine for impromptu serenades, Rodrigo lugged in a projector for interpretive dance videos about the meaning of existence. When Carmen opened the door, resplendent in her finest dress, her smile could have powered a small city. Yeppy stood behind her, looking dressed for a royal wedding rather than dinner with his unhinged grandson. "My darling children," Carmen cried, sweeping them both into hugs. "You look so very colorful." "Completely unhinged," Rodrigo agreed, squeaking his shoes nervously. "They're not even trying to be subtle." "You're..." "Thanks, Grandma Carmen." Marina shrieked at a volume that immediately set off the neighbor's car alarm. Rodrigo picked out my dress. "He says I look like a beautiful rainbow threw up on a mermaid." "That's poetic," Yeppy said weakly. "It's philosophical," Rodrigo declared, stomping his foot so his light-up shoes flashed in strobe-like patterns. "As my great-great-uncle Nietzsche Smith once said, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but sequins are in the soul of the beheld." Carmen and Giuseppe exchanged a worried glance. "Did Nietzsche have a nephew named Smith?" Giuseppe whispered. "I don't think Nietzsche had nephews," Carmen whispered back. "What are you whispering about?" Marina bellowed cheerfully. "Are you planning our wedding? Because Rodrigo and I already decided we want to get married underwater while riding dolphins." "Dolphins represent the transcendence of mammalian consciousness," Rodrigo added solemnly, his shoes now flashing SOS in Morse code. "Plus, they're excellent at weddings." From that point on, the evening spiraled into glorious chaos. Important, spectacular dental work. Marina nearly performed the coffee spit take of the century. "Spectacular dental work, Grandma? Are you arranging a marriage or pitching a toothpaste commercial?" "Both, ideally," Carmen replied with the kind of innocent smile that had probably launched 1,000 scams. "Also, I may have told them you're a virgin who bakes cookies for orphans in your spare time." "You what?" "Oh, and that you're desperately seeking a husband before your ovaries shrivel up like raisins." "I may have mentioned a biological clock situation." Marina gawked at her grandmother in horror. "Please tell me you're joking." "The only joke here is that you believed I had dementia for 6 months. Sweetheart, I've been sharper than a butcher's knife this whole time. I just enjoy watching you explain Netflix to me 47 times. 3 blocks away, Rodrigo Petrov was living through his own personal apocalypse. "Rodrigo, my brilliant grandson," Yeppy declared, polishing his vintage pocket watch like some sort of time-traveling pimp. "Today you meet your destiny, Marina Rodriguez. Beautiful, intelligent, and, pay attention, virgin baker who feeds orphans." "Virgin baker?" Rodrigo choked on his espresso. No. What kind of bizarre fantasy are you living in?" "The kind where I get great-grandchildren before I die, you ungrateful boy. Also, I may have mentioned you're a millionaire inventor who rescues puppies on weekends." "A millionaire inventor? And what?" "That you're desperately lonely because you're too noble and handsome for ordinary women." "Very tragic. Very romantic." Rodrigo stared at his grandfather. "Please tell me you didn't actually say that." "I also mentioned your tragic childhood stutter that only true love can cure." "I never had a stutter." "You do now. Start practicing." By 2:47 p.m., Marina had assembled what she believed to be the most revolting outfit in human history: neon orange cargo pants, a glittery unicorn sweater that played music when pressed, and platform boots that made her sound like a tap-dancing elephant. She'd also prepared her character, vapid influencer obsessed with horoscopes and juice cleanses. By 2:49 p.m., Rodrigo had built his own nightmare persona, pretentious intellectual in a fedora, suspenders and squeaky shoes. His character was a conspiracy theorist who only spoke in philosophical quotes and refused to eat anything that cast a shadow. They both arrived at Café Delirium simultaneously, took one look at each other and shared the exact same thought. Dear God, what have our families done to us? Marina spotted him first, the only man in the cafe dressed like he'd mugged a philosophy professor at a clown convention. She plastered on her brightest fake smile and marched over. "OMG, are you Rodrigo?" she squealed at a pitch that made every dog within 3 blocks whimper. "I'm Marina, your future baby mama, according to our psychotic grandparents." Rodrigo winced at the volume, then adjusted his fedora with painful pretension. "Ah, Marina. As Nietzsche once said, when you gaze into the abyss of arranged marriages, the abyss gazes also into you." "Totally." Marina clapped, triggering her unicorn sweater to play the My Little Pony theme song. "I'm a Sagittarius rising with a Gemini moon, so I totally get the whole abyss thing." "What's your sign?" "Please don't say Capricorn because my astrologer says Capricorns have negative aura energy." "I don't believe in astrology," Rodrigo replied, lowering himself into a chair with squeaks like a rubber orchestra. As Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am deeply suspicious of anyone who makes life decisions based on celestial gas balls." "Gas balls?" Marina giggled maniacally. "You're hilarious. I love funny guys. My last boyfriend wasn't funny at all, so boring. All he wanted to talk about was his job and his feelings and, like, other stupid stuff. I was like, hello? Can we please discuss something important? Like which Kardashian I look most like?" Rodrigo blinked. "And which Kardashian do you think you look like?" "Obviously Kourtney. But with better skin and more spiritual energy. I do yoga every morning and drink celery juice." "Do you drink celery juice?" "You should. It cleanses your chakras." "My chakras are fine, thank you," Rodrigo answered, punctuating the statement with another squeak. "I prefer to cleanse my intellectual palate with Kierkegaard and unsweetened black coffee. Speaking of which, I only eat foods that don't cast shadows." "Foods that don't cast shadows?" Marina repeated. "It's philosophical." He adjusted his fedora again. "If a food casts a shadow, it's too attached to the material world. I seek transcendence through transparent nutrition." "Oh my God, that's like so deep. I'm totally posting that on Instagram. Do you mind if I tag you?" "What's your handle?" "I don't have social media. As Thoreau said, social media is the opiate of the intellectually weak masses." Thoreau totally said that. He was like super wise. I read one of his quotes on Pinterest. They stared at each other across the table, both fully committed to their performances, but beginning to realize they might have created characters too monstrous to contain. That's when Marina noticed something suspicious. In the corner booth, 2 figures were hiding behind newspapers. Upside-down newspapers. One even had a hole cut out for spying. "Rodrigo," Marina whispered, her grin frozen in place. "Don't look now, but I think we're being surveilled by the world's worst secret agents." Rodrigo casually glanced over and nearly choked on his black coffee. Are those our grandparents wearing fake mustaches? Oh my God, they are. And your grandfather's mustache is literally falling off." Indeed, Yeppy's disguise was failing spectacularly. His mustache dangled from one side of his face like a dying caterpillar, and his newspaper was clearly the sports section from 3 weeks ago. Carmen wasn't faring much better. Her blonde wig sat crooked on her head, and her sunglasses were so enormous they covered half her face. She was also holding her paper completely backwards. "This is insane," Marina muttered, still smiling like a maniac. Marina's eyes widened. "Your grandmother just gave my grandfather a thumbs up. And your grandfather just winked at her." Rodrigo grimaced as Giuseppe's fake mustache slid clean off his lip and plopped into his coffee. They both sat frozen, watching in horrified fascination as Giuseppe tried to fish it out with a spoon while Carmen, completely unbothered, attempted to snap photos of them with a camera that had an enormous flash bulb. "Should we acknowledge this madness?" Marina asked, voice still pitched in manic cheer. "Absolutely not," Rodrigo replied firmly. "We're committed to the performance now." Marina narrowed her eyes. "But I have a better idea."